Imagine a time where you feel so meaningfully engaged with what you're doing in life that negative emotions no longer have an effect on you. You know exactly what you want and how to get it. But best of all, you're helping thousands of people along the way, and you go to sleep each night with a sense of awe and gratitude, completely proud of yourself. That's what living with purpose is like. Every action matters, and you're willing to change 100% of your life to align with it. But what does life feel like without purpose? Easy. All of life's suffering, but with no meaning. You get easily caught up in annoyances, arguments, and every shiny object that comes your way because you don't have a guiding North Star. In social settings, you come across as dull, boring, and uninterested because nothing energizes you, and you have no reason to wake up in the mornings. So how can you discover your purpose in life? And is it even worth discovering? According to neuroscience, it's actually more important than discovering anything else in your life. Because it turns out, feeling a sense of purpose isn't just something to do once we've maximized all of our to-do lists, but it actually changes the way our brain operates, as flow researcher Steven Kotler highlights in his book The Art of Impossible. First, we need to start with your passions, because we're going to turn these into purpose. Your passions are what you're interested in right now. So grab a notepad and a pen and write down all of the current passions you can think about that you currently have. Aim to write anywhere between 5 and 20. Your passions are topics you'd like to spend an afternoon reading a book about, attending a lecture on, or listening to a podcast about. Then, when you've written all of your passions down, then start to look for the patterns between them. For example, imagine you wrote down the following: the way that Arsenal footballer Saka sprints after a ball, my guy. Running speed in wingers in football. Nutritional intake for performance. Afrobeats dancing. Cooking. Why are sloths so slow? Amazon rainforest tribes. You could combine the interests of the way Saka sprints after a ball, running speed in wingers in football, nutritional intake for performance, into the field of sports science. We are passionate about what we're curious about, but if we feel too much stress around the topic and not enough autonomy to pursue it, stress increases and our ability to learn well decreases. The next step is to allow your curiosity to guide you into learning about that one thing. So maybe you buy a book on sports science, or you listen to a few podcasts about it. Then after a week or so you've done a bit of research, then engage the process of incubation, aka unconscious pattern recognition, and step away from the topic. When you do this, you allow yourself to digest the things you've been learning about, and you'll be able to cross-reference what you're currently learning about with things you've learned about before, seeing the similarities. The next steps to developing your passions are history, language, and going public. First, as you delve deeper into this topic that you've chosen based on the incubation process of understanding what you're passionate about, in this case sports science, start to pay attention to the narrative within the field. How did the field get started? Who were the early pioneers? Then start learning the specific vocabulary and terminology that experts use in the field. Lastly, after you've done a few days of research on the topic, you'll start to feel like you've got a better understanding on it. Now it's time to go public. Start talking to the people you know about what you've learned. Join online forums or in-person communities where people who are like-minded learning about the topic can gather and discuss ideas, or network to individuals one-on-one. The reason why this part is important is because talking to other people about what you're learning will give you the necessary feedback you need to see if this topic ignites a fire within you and is something you're genuinely interested in, rather than something you're just kind of interested in. But only go public after you've done the first two, finding the narrative of the field and outlining the expert terminology, because if you don't, you'll just sound like a mumbling maniac. However, passion alone is self-centered. So next, we need to turn our passions into purpose. To discover your purpose, again, grab a pen and a notepad. But this time, write down all of the problems in your personal life, society, or the world at large that you would like to see solved. Again, aim to write anywhere between 5 and 15. These are the problems that keep you up at night, but make sure you're specific. For example, writing down protecting wildlife is about as broad as a sheet of plasterboard. So, change it to establish mega linkages to protect biodiversity. And then grab your notes on all of the passions you wrote down previously, and again engage the process of incubation, as you want to start to see links between your passions and the problems in the world you want to see solved. For example, imagine your passions were nutrition, cooking, speed of wingers in football, Afrobeats, Amazon rainforest tribes, and the problems you want to see solved in the world are food deprivation in third world countries, establishing mega linkages to protect biodiversity, the mental health crisis in young adults. The overlaps you could find might be establishing sustainable food sources for food deprived young adults across the world. That's your purpose. In his book, The Art of Impossible, Steven Kotler implores us to take our purpose one step further and turn it into an MTP, massively transformative purpose. Massively means it's large and audacious. Transformative means it brings a significant positive change to the world, a society, a community, or certain people. And the purpose highlights the clear why behind what you're doing. Your MTP is your dream that you hunt, the infinite game that you're playing. But no, in order for it to be sustainable, it needs to be monetizable as well. You need to get paid for it. And to do this, approach your purpose with a hobby mindset. For example, Steven Kotler, the author who I just mentioned of The Art of Impossible, he always knew he wanted to be a writer, but he was bartending for 10 years and was writing on the side before he became a full-time writer. So before we finish this video, let's quickly summarize what we just covered. Purpose changes your brain by decreasing activity in the amygdala and increasing volume in the right insular cortex, guarding against depression and anxiety. To discover your purpose, first begin with your passions. What are you currently curious about? What interests you now? Then turn those passions into purpose by overlapping what you're curious about with problems you want to see solved in the world. Then study your notes to find your MTP, massively transformative purpose. Get after it. Muchachos, stay disciplined, playful, dangerous. Adios.